Hello, guys. This is Martin from Tranquillity, and you're watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, guys? Here with a new episode of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, and I have a returning guest, round two, with Martin Brandstrom from the legendary Dark Tranquillity. Thanks for coming back on, man. How are you doing today?
I'm good. We're here in Romania. I'm going to do a festival called Rockstart today. Rockstart today. It's good to be back. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Just woke up. It's like 7 in the morning my time, so it's great.
Okay.
Just got a couple more interviews to do today, so but it's great to have you here. So we have the new Dark Tranquillity album coming out on the 16th, Endtime Signals, and I've heard it and it is absolutely kick-ass. So do you want to talk to me about the whole writing and recording process, the whole thing came to be and that good stuff?
Yeah, of course. Well, we started to write it in 2022. It was mostly me and Johan who wrote the album. And so Johan lives in the south of Sweden, and I live in Gothenburg. So in 2022, we started to take turns. Like every week, we went to each other's place. He came to my studio. I went down to him in Malmö, and we started to write it. Of course, we were talking a lot about what we wanted to do with this album, and uh, what we decided before we started to write it was that we wanted to do something that was a bit darker. So we worked like that for a year with Michael always in the loop, like coming with feedback and kind of early he started to doing also vocals. So we adapted the songs to what he was writing, the lyrics and the themes that he had. Our process is always like we do a lot of rewriting, we do a lot of reiterations to kind of find the songs, and we're searching for that emotion that's going to grab us and try to polish that. So when we start recording, we have kind of a good blueprint of what we're going to record. We started recording in October 2023, and it was the longest session we ever did in our career. It was 4.5 months. We did the drums. Joachim did fantastic drums, I think. We recorded them up in Fascination Street in Örebro the team there, and then we did the rest in my studio in Gothenburg. So it took 4.5 months. We were done in March this year, and,
Mhm.
and you know how it is with release schedules nowadays, because everyone is adhering to the mighty Spotify algorithm. So you need to kind of do a lot of singles before you release the actual album, and that's kind of frustrating because we just want to get it out there. But now it's less than 2 weeks left, and it's soon going to be out, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah. And musically, did you wanted to continue in the same vein as Moment, or did you wanted to try something new or different that Dark Tranquillity hasn't done before?
But we wanted to do, of course, we wanted to tread new grounds, and we wanted to do something that was darker. But I think also now with a lot of member changes, we wanted to kind of uh, do a revisit on what we have done in the past to kind of gather everyone around what Dark Tranquillity is about. So we were looking a lot to the past as well, and I think that's why the album is kind of diverse. We have faster songs than we have done in a while, and we still have ballads. So it's everything from ballads to really fast and everything in between. So we wanted to do a very diverse album and darker. That's what we decided. So I guess we're continuing from Moment in the sense that we're always trying to find new ways to express ourselves, but this time we also look to the past and kind of reevaluated what we had done before.
Yeah. And what would you say like the overall sort of like message and sort of like the theme is behind the new album?
Well, the lyrical theme, I think, uh, I don't want to talk too much for Michael, but I mean, of course, we discussed it a lot, and we discuss the world around us every day, and like all the time, and I think it's Michael's reaction to the times that we're living in, and I think it's there's a lot of reason for concern nowadays because we're so much polarized, and I mean we've been through a lot since we did an album. We have had a pandemic together, all of us in the world. We hadn't experienced that before, and in Europe we have some wars close to our homes, and that's new to us. That kind of uh, also colored our mood before this album. So I guess with Endtime Signals, it's not that we're seeing an end, but it's more like a cautionary title, because
Yeah.
we see that there is reason to worry more today than it's been probably in a while. Maybe the most in our generation.
Yeah, because
So it's
hence like the album title, people might thought this would be the last Dark Tranquillity album.
for sure not. No, we're just getting started with this new chapter of our era.
Yeah.
So it's not a comment on the band. It's more a comment on fears we have for the world.
Yeah. And of course, like this album is the first album with the new members like Christian on bass and Joachim go on drum. So did they bring something like new rhythmically to Dark Tranquillity that you all didn't have before?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Joachim is a really technical drummer, and we realized that, like, because we've been touring with them for 2 years before we started to write the album, and since we know that they had a really like a large hunger to express themselves, and we had that kind of tools now to compose for, so we allowed ourselves to do more technical stuff because of that. And also I mean, when you're inviting two new members to the band, you also have to kind of explain what Dark Tranquillity is about, and it's while explaining for someone else, you kind of uh, putting a point on it for yourself as well. So that was a good process. Yeah, and Christian is an amazing bassist as well. We've known it, I mean, we've known it for a long time, and he has known the band for a long time, so he knew really what we wanted to do. So this new blood and this new hunger to make a mark in the Dark Tranquillity camp was an inspiration for us to kind of go for it.
Yeah. And of course also having being like Johan now is just being like the only guitarist on the album. How does that like compare to like having like working with like two guitarists in the past?
Well, uh, well, musically and how we structured it, I think this album was more straightforward. In albums before, we played a lot more with the duality of the guitars, but now we focused more on his playing and wanted to bring his style out on this album. So I think the guitars, I love the guitar parts, and it serves the songs well for this album. It's less layering in the guitars, but I think it's cool. There's so much going on anyways in the songs, so
Yeah.
it works out fine.
Yeah. And one thing I'm curious about like your composing process, especially how do you like approach like a guitar riff who's written like somebody who's like especially with you being the key is in the band, and what inspires you to write like what you did on like for example like albums like such as like Construct then Atonement, and I'm just curious how do you like write your keys with somebody else who writes like his guitar parts, and how do you try to like fit that into within the song?
I think, I mean, before we even start to record the guitar parts, we're composing the songs, and what we're looking for first, before we're looking for riffing, is that we're looking for an emotion. So the first thing that we kind of do is to decide on what the emotion is that we're going. First, we play around and have a lot of different stuff and just listen to what we do. But when we find something that grabs us, we identify, okay, this is what the song is about, and then in the whole composing process, I'm more focused on guitars than what I am on keyboard. I guess that's like from a production side, that I want to have the guitar parts right first before I start with the keyboard. So I start with the keyboards really late in the process. Uh, when we compose and do the planning, I always use only 3 sounds because I don't want to limit the songwriting. I only have a piano, a lead, and a pad. That's the only thing I use. So
Yeah.
we get everything like good for like the metal part of our music first, and focus on getting the riffing and the emotions right. And then kind of late in the process, I start with the keyboards to kind of expand on what we've done with the rest of the music, and maybe fill in where there's lacking something, or okay, of course there's parts where there's only keyboards, we know that, but it's more like that we put the pin on it in the composing process, that okay, I'm going to solve it later, it's going to be something like this. So we were very focused on the guitars first.
Right. And kind of switching topics, because this year does also mark 35 years since the formation of Dark Tranquillity. The band formed in 1989, and you joined pretty much a decade later in 99. So 25 years since you've been a part of the band. So how do you feel about being like the whole part of the, I guess, the legacy of Dark Tranquillity, and what do you see like the band is in like the future?
Uh, I was super proud that I got to join the band in '99. I didn't realize then what kind of journey I was in for, because you never do when you start something. It's it's always a blank sheet of paper. But I'm super proud of what we've done in the past and what we've become, and I think that we feel an important role in the kind of musical landscape. And I want to continue exploring this role, and to put our flavor on metal, and our flavor on our expression. So yeah, I'm super proud.
Yeah, and kind of also want to talk about a couple of album anniversaries, because next year will of course mark 25 years of Haven, and also 15 years of We Are the Void, which are both classic Dark Tranquillity albums. I believe Haven was, of course, your first record with the band. So how do you feel about that album now, 25 years later, being that was like your first record with the band?
Oh, it's 25 years for Haven. Yeah.
Yeah, next
Oh, we've
year.
been. Yeah, and it's also 20 years for Character and 30 years for the Gallery. So I guess it's a lot
Oh,
of
right. Oh,
anniversaries
four
next.
anniversaries. Yeah, I'm mostly
Yeah,
focusing on
well,
the stuff you're on.
yeah, okay, yeah, well, Haven was uh, maybe it was like the blessing of youth, that I was kind of ignorant to what kind of pressure I really was in for, because I just kind of jumped into the deep end right away. The band was really welcoming because they wanted to have a keyboardist, so they were really welcoming on letting me to kind of take space in the music. So I felt that I was allowed to make a mark as soon as I joined the band. And so I just got busy with kind of doing what I felt was right for the music. And I mean, Haven is my first album, and I just realized that because I was looking through old songs the other day, because we were thinking about what to do on the live sets, and I just realized that I only had one synthesizer that I just bought when I did Haven, and I think you can hear it on the album. My sound palette is kind of limited, so I guess with Haven it's kind of, if you imagine that you do a poem when you're really young and you find it in a drawer and you read it and you think, okay, that's okay, but maybe you could have done better. That's what I feel like about Haven. I'm super proud, but yeah, uh, I can hear that it's my first steps in making something for Dark Tranquillity.
Yeah. Totally. But then still talking about the new album, Endtime Signals, with knows, especially with like every song it sounds different, but still has sort of like doesn't like take away or sort of like make something different, but still sort of like has like a great flow. So how do you sort of like pace it and figure out where to sort of like lay sort of like your parts in terms of like sort of like the context of the songs?
Uh, well, I think it's really important to have like a coherent mood of the album, uh, and I guess it's intuition to and also kind of use the same, to agree just with the keyboard parts, is to kind of agree on a palette for myself. Okay, I'm going to use these kind of sounds. I'm going to use these kind of techniques to tie the album together. But then it's also about pacing the album. It's because and I like that you consider it an album, because for a lot of people it's just the songs that you put in your own playlist nowadays. But we still consider the music to be an album. So we put in a lot of time to kind of pace the album on what orders the songs are, and sometimes on, like, even on this album or on albums before, we because we record more songs that we're going to release, and sometimes we remove a song. Maybe it's not the worst song, but it might be a song that's filling a role that's already filled on the album. So if a song is doing kind of the same thing, maybe that's going to be a bonus track. Um, So we take a lot of care in pacing the album, and also to kind of do this overall mood and sound that's going to tie the album together. And I guess it's even more important when we have this varied album from ballads to the aggressiveness of Unforgivable is already out that people have heard that. So it's kind of a big step in between, but you still need to kind of tie that together. And that's what I really try to do that with the production overall, and especially with my keyboards.
Yeah, and I
So
especially love how like each song sounds different. Like if you go from a song like Not Nothing to Enforced Perspective to Our Disconnect to even like a Bleaker Sign, I feel like every like keyboard part that you did sort of like reflects like it's sort of like a different kind of like emotion that you're feeling with at the time.
yeah, well, that's a great compliment. That's what I try to do. I don't. I mean, I use analog gear, so I don't use the same patches for different songs. I start everything new for every song. But what's combining it? I guess it's the techniques that I use, and the mood. But
Yeah.
thank you. That's a great compliment.
Yeah, and how do you like figure out like the different effects that you use like of the song? Do you ever just like listen to the song and be like, I could use like this sort of like effect for this song or like songs like especially like Terminus or even like Misery's Crown or even I don't know, it's just like it's hard. I'm just always curious like how do you figure out like where the effects go like within the songs that you figured that it could fit within?
I think it is intuition, and that is something that. Uh, I'm always listening, and I'm listening even when we did make mistakes because sometimes mistakes can be really musical, and that's going to do something. If I react to it and then think, hey, this sound didn't turn out the way I thought, but I really like it because you're listening all the time. You can find something that would be really hard to recreate because it just happened. But so you have to be kind of awake for the process. And sometimes I also play around with that in mind to create these happy accidents to occur. And that's also why I use analog gear, because you kind of need to treat them like a regular instrument, like a guitar. You need to tune them. You need to fix everything. It's like a real instrument. So things are always going to happen. Uh, and but with effects, I think the mood I'm going for is always this kind of melancholic mood that's going for, and also for the aggression. So I want to kind of have a suspense and some melancholy. So that's also the effects I'm usually going for. But there are different ways of getting there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and I think I might have asked this the last time we spoke. In terms of like playing live, do you try to like make it how it was like on the album, especially with like sort of like the old songs that you do? Do you try to stick to how it was, or do you try to like add sort of like or add sort of like a little like different things every time?
I mean, for newer songs, it would be impossible because I have so many layers and it's all done in the studio. So that's why we need to have backing tracks, because I would lose all the character my sound uh, soundscapes if I did everything on the keyboard. I mean, in a live setting, I can only bring one keyboard, and it needs to be a keyboard that can do everything from synth sounds to string sounds to piano sounds. So it's kind of it's not an exciting keyboard. It's just like a versatile keyboard. And then we use backing tracks to kind of have the flavor still left. Still gonna play all the leads, but everything that's kind of backing it up is coming from backing track. But this time we're looking through our discography and rehearsing a lot of songs that we never even played before. So I think that's a good opportunity to kind of rework those songs. But I'm not trying to turn the songs into something different. For instance, I talked about Haven, how I was kind of limited in my in the, first my skills and secondly like my tool sets. So I'm trying to give those songs a little bit of a better chance, trying to kind of improve of them a little bit, but in the same vein, what I was going for with it when I created those parts in the first place.
Yeah. And so kind of like also in the end to sort of wrap things up, what's next for Dark Tranquillity? We got the new album Endtime Signals coming out on the 16th, and I am looking forward to seeing you guys on the tour with Amorphous. I'm going to see you at Prague Power in Atlanta in September. There's just anything else
Great.
with the release of Endtime Signals that you like to plug, if you're allowed to say.
No, man, we're gonna tour a lot. We're already planning a bunch of stuff for next year. But straight after the American tour that you're gonna come and see, and thank you for that. We're
Anytime.
gonna come home. Great. We're gonna come home to Europe, and we're gonna do a European tour together with Moonspell.
Yeah.
Uh, Straight after the the American tour, and then we have plans. We're booking the year 2025 as well to continue with the Endtime Signals touring. But as you say, there's also a lot of anniversaries next year. There's the gallery 30 years, Haven 25 years, Character 20 years. What is it? Construct 15 years. So we're thinking about maybe we want to highlight some album to kind of celebrate those earlier releases as well. But
Yeah.
nothing is set in stone. I mean, we haven't even released the album. It's going to be out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So right now we're focusing on like really doing a proper good release for this album. But when we're thinking of maybe a year and a half or 2 years forward, we're also thinking about digging deeper into our past
Yeah.
and these anniversaries and bringing back songs that we haven't played and perhaps songs that people expected never to hear us play.
Yeah. Is it
To
always
kind
hard
of
to like it's always hard to like come up with like a set list with because you're having like so many albums out now. Is it harder to like put like a set list because you want fans that want like the classics or even like deep cuts, and you even also want fans that want to hear new stuff?
It is hard, and I mean we're really grateful that we have fans that are following us from different eras of. I mean, we've been around for 35 years, so some people are going to like the gallery most. Some people haven't even heard the gallery, so it's hard to kind of balance it. But we're trying to, and I think maybe before we were a bit more jaded about that, but now I think it's a good. We have a new hunger in the band now with this new album and also by looking through our discography. So this time we feel really motivated to kind of brush off some songs and play more songs from the past.
All right.
It's kind of I think it's boring for the audience because it's easy that the set list turns into like a greatest hit set, and we want to play a lot of shows. And if we come back too often, we kind of the same set. It's going to be boring for everyone. It's going to be boring for the audience, and it's going to be, I guess, boring for us as well. So by adding all these songs, I think we can keep it more interesting for everyone, us included.
Yeah. So thank you, Martin, for this conversation. Is just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
Well, thank you for listening throughout the years, and I hope you're excited for the new album. We are excited to share it with you. It's going to be out on August 16th, and I hope you like it.
Yeah.
And
So
come see us on the show. Like I said, we're going to play a lot of different stuff.
awesome. So everybody, Martin Brandstrom from Dark Tranquillity. We'll see you next time.